Alright, here we go with another album review for the Modernist Guide for Popular Media. This time is a review for the new collab album, Blood Moon 1, between Converge and Chelsea Wolfe. Converge is the established hardcore metalcore band from 1990, founded by lead singer Jacob Bannon and guitarist and producer Kurt Blow. They pretty much have been the undisputed kings of what metalcore is considered, which is just combining the most visceral and raw parts of hardcore punk and the heavy, sharp, violent aesthetic of metal. Their 2001 album, Jane Doe, is considered one of the greatest metal records of all time. My personal favorite is their '06 record, No Heroes. It actually kind of reminds me a lot of this record, where it's more gothic, slower, but still dark and menacing, aggressive, and heavy as all can be. They have been described as the band who gives you the best headache that you could possibly want. Chelsea Wolfe, I don't know too much about. She has dived a lot in what's called dark and ethereal wave, which is just a gothic form of very minimalist electronica or folk styling singer songwriter. She has dabbled in goth rock and gothic metal and doom metal. I've tried some of her records before and I don't get too caught up in it, which I definitely need to course correct. This is the 10th record for Converge and the 6th for Chelsea, and the marriage here is really something else. I can't really compare it to much of anything except maybe Lacuna Coil. They are the closest to like heavy goth rock that this resembles, but it's so far and away from that still. Can't even like use Evanescence as a template, who were kind of the starters of that, no matter what people want to say yes or no about. There's not any orchestral additions to this, so it's not like stuff like Nightwish or any band like that either. It is straightforward, murky, deep, dense goth metal, but with plenty of doom and sludge elements. So it is slow paced, but the pacing is just kind of perfect. Earlier this year, only about 20 or so days ago, was the new Mastodon record, Hushed and Grim, and I think this album approaches that same kind of ideal and mindset and a lot of similar stylings with the gothic sludginess. But this record has fixed all the pacing problems. It is so effortlessly put together, and Chelsea's vocals are a welcome addition of diversity. I think vocal diversity is very important, and here you have her vocals. You have possibly the first real set of clean vocals from Jacob Bannon ever. I think in their 2012 record, All We Love We Leave Behind, there were some clean vocals, but not a lot, and they weren't super distinguishable from just like half screams. And the raw, gnarly, dry, screeching vocals that Bannon is famous for is on this record in plenty of spots, but is more of an accent and a background and something to accessorize with Chelsea's vocals and even Jacob's clean. There's absolutely so much ground to cover with this record. It is an hour long, 12 songs, but ultimately I think it comes down to this isn't the Converge you would recognize from any other record, though they were headed this way from their last two, which the 2012 record I just mentioned, and from the Dusk in Us, which was 2017. They have slowed down, but have kept their immensity and density and all of that still at the forefront, but they're not nearly as abrasive and fast paced as they were back in like Jane Doe era. The cleans, both how they sound and stylistically, the way they are sung for Jacob Bannon, are very similar to Alice in Chains, just channeling Lane Stanley, which is a perfect use of that gothic atmosphere on here. Several songs just feel like something that, if given more time, Alice in Chains would have written eventually. And also, one of my favorite artists of all time, Devin Townsend, who is a super eclectic, very diverse metal artist from Canada. He has done almost a record a year for the last 25 years, even done a very gothy, old school Johnny Cash country record with a female singer that he wanted to collab with called Casualties of Cool. And that is all over this record too, I think. The southern gospel isms all over here, and the southern gothic rock is very clear and obvious, and it's all just put together in ways that I heard glimpses of in other artists, but just nothing to this level. Is so comprehensively finalized and structured exactly the way that I think ultimately you've always wanted when you hear certain elements of goth rock and metal. The opening track, Blood Moon, is exactly what you got from Dusk and Us, but it has now Chelsea's vocals, and it's so good. Coil is the most clean vocal heavy and is very sensual and seductive while still being like creepy and moody and vampiric, I guess is another word you could use. And that's where like the Devon vocals start coming in with a very Alice in Chains-esque chorus. And then Flower Moon is the heaviest and most intense Alice in Chains song that Alice in Chains has never written. Tongues Playing Dead and Lord of Liars are a back-to-back descent into madness with the back and forth between what you recognize from other Converge records, some Devin Townsend influence, some Alice in Chains reinvention, Chelsea's vocals just being that perfect high silky tone of just haunting witchiness, and you're spiraling, and the mood for that is just so visceral. Chelsea's vocals are just icing on this cake, really. It is a dark, dense, heavy devil's cake. She's just got the most perfect pitch to send it over the edge where you feel so like helpless and excitedly so. Like you're just in the best cult ever. More heavy Johnny Cash, Devin Townsend-esque southern rock stuff in Failure Forever, which is kind of one of my favorite songs because it's just so catchy. Scorpion Sting, I'm fine with. It's more of a haunted western feel. It would fit perfectly if someone like Robert Rodriguez did a Sergio Leone-esque western with like vampires, whatever, like Dusk Till Dawn. It has got that dive biker bar in the middle of the desert full of vampires and you don't know it kind of feel. Damien feels like an Alice in Chains death march with, I think, Chelsea screaming in the middle of the song in the background because those vocals don't sound like Bandon to me. So I think it's Chelsea screaming, which is really cool. The masterpiece is Crimson Stone, and it's if only because of this amazing perfect build reminiscent of the first song Blood Moon, that the final 2 minutes are just beautiful, and it is just gothic perfection. It is full on. I love the record for sure. My only real negative complaint, I guess, would be the song Blood Dawn at the end kind of takes away from that perfect climax that Crimson Stone just had. It feels more like, since it's only 3 minutes and it's kind of the shortest song, instead of a final song, it should have been the opening, like a theme song, because it feels very thematic of this is what you're about to hear, but more of in different ways. It makes more sense to me to be the first song you hear, not the last song. Even though I think Scorpion Sting is a really neat idea, it's, very subdued. And sometimes every now and then it just feels kind of subdued, but I think that's the atmosphere they're trying to go for. But this is unlike anything I think anyone was ready to hear. You've heard it before, but not done this good, not done this well, not done this atmospherically perfect. So this is a 9.75 out of 10. I'm it's near the end of the year. I don't know what can beat it creatively, how it's made so well. I have some personal favorites that I might struggle with wanting to put above, but I think as objectively as I can, even though I don't super believe in it, this is as good as a creative metal record gets this year. And once again, just pure and simple, Converge delivers. They have for 9 records at the least. Chelsea Wolfe has definitely proven to me that she's not someone you should ever sleep on. So that's what this is. This is one of the best front to back, beginning to end records you'll hear all year. So that's what the rating is for, more than anything. That's all there is to it for this one. Like, share, subscribe, and if not, thank you for just listening and have a good night.